Okay, we are live again. Welcome everybody to this day. I'm going to chat with Leah from Australia, and we're going to talk a little about her journey with Mavie and DNA customized services like meal plans and workout and so forth. And so if you feel that you are really interested in this and want to know more about it, just type yes in the comment or shoot me or Leah a message after this. Also, if you have any questions during this chat with Leah, just type them in the comment and I will try to ask the questions to Leah as well. So let's go, Leah. Here we will go. Hello, Leah.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. All the way from Australia, huh? Down
Yes,
under.
all the way. It's a long way from where you guys are.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and you're nighttime there, and I'm just noon here, so yeah. Okay, Leah. So let's talk a little bit about you. Who are Leah?
Who am I? I've
Yeah.
always classed myself as just the average Aussie mum, really. Two kids, about to turn 45 this year. I usually have a lot going on my plate, so I teach martial arts. I'm also an equine veterinary nurse, and basically I also volunteer for the Royal Fire Brigade. So I wear many hats, as you can say,
Yeah.
on top of being a wife and a mother.
Wow. Yeah. So you're busy.
Generally keep myself busy. Yeah, keeps me out of trouble.
Okay. 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 So how long have you done martial arts?
Been in martial arts for over 12 years now. I received my black belt about 4 years ago, and I've gone more to a teaching phase. I still like to compete, but obviously this year with the coronavirus, that sort of put everything on hold. So at this stage, it's basically just looking at teaching. I generally teach the kids class as well as an adults class, which, I love interacting with the kids and, empowering them and teaching them.
Okay. So you're in the fire brigade as well?
Yes, I volunteer for the Rural Fire Brigade up where I am. I live on a rural property, so about 40 k's out of town. So yeah, it's something that I've been able to give back to my community, and fits in really well with property management and all sorts of bits and pieces that I like to do. So.
Wow. So cool. And I know because I heard a little bit from the last interview you did with Åsa in Sweden here, that you also you're a veterinarian or
A veterinary nurse. So
veterinarian.
I assist the vets. I work in an equine or a horse specialist center. So I get to play with the big ponies all day long.
Ah, nice. Horses I like. I had Icelandic horses before. I don't have them anymore, but I had them before. So yeah.
Very good. Yes. No, I'm a pony lover from way back in the day. I've had horses since I was a kid. So it is something that I've pretty much grown up with and quite enjoy doing.
Okay. Have you ever seen an Icelandic horse?
Only in a book. It's not
Only
one we generally see over here in Australia. So yeah, I gotta say I've only seen them either online or in a book. So yeah, haven't put my hands on one.
Okay. So Leah, I know you made quite a journey with your weight the last, what was it, 8 weeks, something like that. You have gone down like, how much is it now?
It was about just over 11.5 kilos. So at the end of last year, I participated in some 4-week challenges that we had. So I got my meal plans last year, and basically I'd always struggled with my weight. So it's something that trial and error over many, many years while I was competing and in martial arts, just trying to figure out what was right for me. Unfortunately, after having 2 children, my weight ballooned. And then later on in life, when I hit 40, did a desk job for 10 years, it really ballooned. So I just had a lot of other factors. So even though I was training, I just couldn't get the right combination of what worked for me. So when I was first seeing Mavie, to me, it was just like a no-brainer. It was like, oh, well, this is the magic key. This is how I'm going to find out what works for me without doing more trial and error, and maybe figuring it out another 5 years down the track.
Yeah. So you feel that you get this really specific how you should do it?
Yeah, the reports were really quite interesting to read, because I guess I'm an animal nurse. I have general biology and the way things work in our bodies and stuff like that. So I was able to understand it quite well, and I was quite intrigued on how things play with each other together, and how all these different genes can affect these traits as such. So I found it really interesting. And yeah, when you get the corrective action plan to go with it, there's no more guesswork. So it basically tells you, well, this is what you need to do to make this trait better. And yeah, even I was skeptical at first, and I thought, well, I've got to give it a crack. The first 4 weeks, it was over 5 kilos gone, and I didn't even exercise in that first 4 weeks. That first one, I didn't put the exercise into the second 4-week challenge, which I actually used as a preparation to go back into full contact fighting, because I haven't fought for about 2 years. So I thought, oh, well, there's only one way to really test it. Let's do basically a preparation, a 4-week prep before a tournament, which was at a national level. And yeah, it was another 5 or 6, nearly 6 kilo gone, and everything changed after that. So, it definitely boosted a lot of things. Like I was saying the other day, I said it felt like I was 18 again. Just the energy levels, I needed less sleep, all those sort of things. So it really did change my life.
Okay. So did you feel that any of the traits was like a surprise for you? Like, oh, this was really something new for me.
The one that I sort of caught me a bit off guard was my vitamin B. So I was always told with the doctors that I have issues with vitamin B. I was always low in vitamin B. But then when I got my report, it actually said that I didn't have an issue. But what I did have issues with was with vitamin A, our calcium, and vitamin D. Now, when you look at all those, they all interlock in a way, and in certain areas. So where one could be deficient, it would affect something else. So I guess once I got all the other pieces of the puzzle together, it all played a major role. And I actually never had an issue with vitamin B. So even though in the past my bloods would say so, that was more probably just my diet, and not an actual medical problem.
Yeah. So did you get all the 4 different reports that you can get from Mavie, or?
Yes.
Yeah. And in the other reports, was it something that was standing out a little bit that you feel like, wow, this is something new?
Maybe not so much standing out. It confirmed a lot of things.
Okay.
I've always had really dodgy ankles. I played soccer as a kid, was always on crutches because I'd always twist my ankles. I broke my ankles a couple of years ago, completely tore the ligaments in one and shattered the bones in the other. So I knew I always had tendon issues, and it did come back in my report that I was susceptible to tendon issues because I have a collagen issue. So it was like, well, there's, collagen plays a major part in a lot of different aspects in our body. And I guess having that issue, it definitely sort of went, and now I know, I've got it confirmed. Gluten intolerance, I didn't know until a couple of years ago when I did a trial and error and went fully off gluten, and the skin cleared up, everything. So, it confirmed a lot of things for me. So it wasn't that I had any major surprises. It was more confirming my trial and error of many years, and just better ways of dealing with it than how doctors or physios or other people have actually told me to try and correct that problem.
Okay. So do you feel that because you have lost quite a lot of weight now, do you feel that it's easy to follow the meal plans and the fitness plans and stuff, or do you do a lot of changes to them as well, or?
Well, at the moment, I'm really looking forward to the new meal plans, because that will mean that I won't have to manually swap in and out some stuff. But because I've been doing it for a while, I find it quite easy to do. Most recipes these days, I know off the top of my head, if it's got something in it, I know what I can swap it out with. And that's just because I've been doing it for a few years. So the new meal plans where you get to select a bit more with the gluten and the dairy and all those sort of things, it's just going to make life so much easier. I've loved them. I print them out. I stick them on my fridge. I meal prep in a day for a whole week because I'm not one to cook or be in the kitchen. I prefer to grab and go. As you can imagine, I am busy. I don't get home sometimes till late. I'm gone by 7 a.m. So to me, I like to be organized. I will meal prep. I'll make my meals, my lunches and dinners and what I can. The rest I'll make as I go. But it's easy for me to just grab out of the fridge and run, go to work. I've got my meals. I've got no reason to go to the shop, buy something I shouldn't or don't need because it's always there ready to go.
So how old are your kids?
I have a 20-year-old who's no longer at home, my son, and then I have a 16-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Who's still at school and lives at home, drives us all crazy. She makes up for, I think, him as well.
Okay. That's nice. I know as well that you had some issues with some inflammation and rashes and stuff before. How have that changed with everything you have been doing?
It was like I got new joints again. It was really weird because I'd always, doctors were saying, oh, you must have gout or you must have this or that. And I'm like, well, none of my blood tests ever said I did. But I would get really stiff joints, especially the ankles, because they've been heavily traumatized, but my knees and my hands and my elbows as well. So I would creak like a floorboard when I got up in the morning and make lots of noises, and they would just be stiff and sore. And the more I used them and worked them, they would swell. I'd get fluid and all sorts of things. And I just had this constant inflammation in my body. And with my tendons and stuff like that, I was often getting reoccurring tendonitis and stuff like that. And they're like, well, it's just who you are. And I'm like, well, it can't be just who I am. A lot of it was down to certain foods. Gluten was probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
And for me, red meat.
Okay. Yeah.
So I found out I've got some issues with red meat. My body doesn't like a lot of it, which is fine. I like seafood and chicken, so it's all pretty good. I still eat red meat, but I know I just don't eat it like 5 days a week. So once I sort of cut those out, I definitely had more movement in my joints, less swelling, and the pain pretty much went away. Within those first 4 weeks, it was nearly pretty much all gone. I didn't have hardly any pain. And what I did have was probably more circumstantial for overuse and overworking because I was feeling so good, especially in that second 4-week program where I was training, because I went back to training 6 days a week. Right. It was probably more circumstantial than it was anything else. And the lovely rash that I had, I used to have white patches like all over my chest and my arms and along the sides of my face. And I believe a lot of that was yeast and gluten. So once I cleaned out my body from being so reactive and in inflammation mode, all of it just went away. Plus the skincare products, I think, played a good part in my face as well.
So you're using the skin products as well that is tailored for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you like them?
I just noticed a lot of the blemishes have gone. It's not as bad. My face feels just cleaner. It doesn't feel like I've got creams and stuff on my face because, like, I'm just a farm girl. I don't ever used to do any of that facial sort of stuff. That was for my mum. She was the beauty therapist, and I ran in the opposite direction and prefer to go play in the dirt. So I never used to do it, but I love this skincare range. It feels so smooth and simple and like there's nothing on your face. So to me, it's just like, well, if I can start looking younger now that I've gotten over 40, then that's great as well. So
you're still looking young, that's for sure. Yeah, okay. So the red meat, was that also in the report? So you could see that was something?
There was something about it, yes. I can't remember which trade it was under. I think it was the one about inflammation and stuff like that. So yeah, it did come up in that, and basically, so therefore my meal plans were just designed with only red meat, maybe once or twice a week. Because obviously they take those traits into consideration, so you don't have to think about it, which is nice and easy. And they did all the hard work for me. So it was basically a lot of it was taken out of my diet.
Yeah. So, like you said before, you just start to do full contact. Is it karate you are doing, or?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at the end of last year, which is when I did that last 4-week program, I went back and competed again nationally. So at our Australian titles, which was really good because I hadn't actually competed for nearly 2 or 3 years because I'd had consistent injuries and it just was preventing me from getting back in the game. Because what was it? 2015 is the year that I broke both my ankles. So that was a write-off. 2016, I took the option of not competing because I wanted to get my black belt, because obviously I couldn't in 2015. So I just really focused on obtaining that black belt. And then sort of 17 and 18, I'd get 1 or 2 tournaments in, but I was having constant ligament and tendon issues like tendonitis and stuff like that. It was really preventing me from training the way I needed to compete. Like I could still train, but just not to the intensity for competitions. What we do is full contact. So it's a bit like MMA, you could say, but in
Yeah.
karate. So it's like no padding, no nothing.
Oh.
Full on. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that you've got to train hard for. It's not like a non-contact sport.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what happened when you broke both ankles at the same time, or what did you do?
Okay, so I electively decided to hop off a moving horse,
Mm, okay.
and it didn't go to plan that was in my head. I ended up hopping into a hole in the ground, and one foot was stuck in the stirrup. So the one that was stuck still in the saddle, I ripped all the ligaments off, and the
Mhm.
one I did land in the hole in the ground, I shattered. So,
Oh, damn. How is
so I
that?
did a good job.
How is that today? Is it healed fully, or?
Yeah, like it's healed. I'm always going to have issues with those ligaments because they're completely cactus, pretty much.
Yeah.
I do have to strap. There's things I've got to take care of. I have a lack of flexibility in the one that's got all the hardware, my pins and plates in it. But otherwise, look, they still work. I'm still walking. I got back to karate. I was able to get my black belt and everything. So to me, there was just a lot of planning that took place to strengthen them, to get them to the best that they could. They're never going to be perfect, but they're workable. So I'm happy with
Mm.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess also if all the inflammation has been deteriorating and not so much, and that also help healing the feet as well, I guess so.
Yeah, like a lot of the inflammation I had in my feet is really good now. Like occasionally, if I know I eat something that I shouldn't, or I'm out and I don't get the options that I'd like, my body usually tells me pretty quick that, hey, that wasn't great,
Yeah.
but we can deal with it. So, it's not like an overload to the system.
Yeah. See, I got a question here. Let's see what it says. Fiorella is asking, you're also part of the business. How has that been? Yeah, how can you manage? You have like different jobs everywhere. You're such a busy woman and you're still doing the business part in Mavie as well. Tell us a little bit how you can manage that.
I guess it's time management. It's something that I'm usually pretty good at. I love my spreadsheets. I love organizing things, and being in those senior roles. It's something I've done for many years. So being organized and prepared is one thing. I originally seen Mavie because of the business, because I was coming away from the building and construction industry and running a large construction company with my father to going back to nursing. Now there's paycheck difference is massive. Going from a corporate job back to a nursing role. I don't know about you guys over there, but veterinary nursing over here is basically bottom wage, minimal wage. So it's, even though you might be the best at what you do, it's still minimal wage. So I was like, well, I need another income, because I'd seen other companies go down and people left with nothing. And I thought, I'm no longer going to have one egg, all my eggs in that one basket anymore. I started to go, there's got to be other ways to diversify income, to protect my family, to protect our home, all those sort of things. A bit of a wake-up call, I think, when I hit 40. I was like, well, what if this job dies or something changes and I'm unemployed. So it was a bit of a life-changing point for me. And look, in the beginning, I plodded through it. I gave it a really good crack. There was just so much I had to learn coming from a bricks and mortar business, and then learning more about networking and communications and people. And yeah, like I've been plodding through in the background up until last month in May. We did do a 30-day challenge here in Australia for the Mavie business. And with my work, I actually got reduced hours because of the coronavirus. I was put back in that situation of my wages had dropped again, my hubby's wages had dropped again, and we were like, well, what do we do? And I said to him, I'm sitting on plan B and playing with it on the side. And I need to take it seriously and actually run it like a business, like I used to run my other business. And I had the time freedom to do that then because I was on reduced hours and all the rest of it. And putting in that effort and doing what I did. Last month, I had an amazing month. I never envisioned having such a great month, but we had like 15 new customers come on board, which was awesome.
Wow. That's
now
great.
This month has changed again. So it was like, well, now I've actually gone back to full-time work. So I'm like, well, I don't have the 4 or 5 hours a day that I was working on Mavie. Now it's down to maybe 2 or 3. So it was just about, well, I have these designated hours. I set up my office here in the spare room. I come in here, I put a Mavie t-shirt on, and this is my business zone, and I work the business just like everybody else. And I think having those rules and those promises to yourself that this is what I'm going to do, it really does help stick to the plan. And look, sometimes it's just a numbers game and time and lots of learning. There's so much personal development that goes on in the background. I had no idea when I first started, so it is just a learning curve.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't take it seriously, like you say. You don't take it because it's not so expensive to be in the business part of Mavie, and you're not treating it a little bit like Eric is saying. You're not treating it as like a business. You're treating it like something else. So it's really important to be engaged in it and to be consistent and all of those things. Exactly like you're saying. I really like the part you say. I'm putting on my Mavie t-shirt and I'm really digging down to that work and don't let anything distracting me, because that is basically work as well. Just it's home-based work. So
absolutely, it's your business. So I went back to, well, when I was in the construction business, I'd put on my uniform, I'd go to work, I'd have set amount of hours in the day, and I had set tasks I had to do.
Yeah.
So when I thought, well, Mavie is my business. This is what it is. It is absolutely no different. So I need to create that environment at home here and do it exactly the same way. So I grabbed my Mavie t-shirt and, like I said, I'd have my hat, I'd do whatever I could. I'd set up, I'd have my tasks for today, and I would just get it done. When it was done, then I was out of the office. So, it's just a lot of it's mindset. Just getting back into that mindset that this is a business. It doesn't matter whether it costs you $1 or $100,000. It's a business and it doesn't create itself. It does require work, but hopefully work over time is what eventually will give you the time.
Yeah, it's like Fiorella said, like you're also saying here, it's like creating the right environment for doing the work. So it's really, really good. Yeah, I love it.
And it might be different for everybody. That's just how I've done it. So it's a matter of finding what works for you and doing that. If it's you in your pajamas out on the veranda with your hot coffee, just boss babing it, sweet, do it. We've got to find what works for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So do you feel now that you have more digged into the journey yourself, really doing the weight loss and really sticking to the schedule quite rigidly, and do you feel it's easier to talk to people about this and get them motivated as well because you can show your results?
Absolutely. So I think being a product of the product is really important, especially when this is also new to you, because, your beliefs got to come from inside. And sometimes we can say, yeah, this is awesome. but we're not living it. And not only that, sometimes we actually don't really believe it inside because we might have that little bit of skepticism or something like that. And until sometimes we've had our own results, it's hard for us to get that level of enthusiasm and that level of, well, I don't care if people say no anymore because I know what I've done and what I've been through and stuff like that. And I think that's where I was sort of at last month. Like, I put everything I had into it. And I came out and I was like, holy crap, that was one hell of a month. And I was like, I just spoke from the heart. I didn't do anything different to probably what I did. I had my contacts list. I had people I was talking to, people I was showing, and all the rest. But I just spoke from the heart and just put myself in the story. And then also utilize the help that was around me. Use my upline, use those people to take then it away from me to get those decisions. So, there are plans and processes in place, and it's what you feel comfortable doing.
So what would you say to the people out there that are listening now and they're just like, this sounds really interesting? What would you say to them, like, about
I would just say, if you've been given an opportunity and you don't know how you're going to do it, but it gives you that feeling that this is something really cool, just do it. Like, what have you got to lose? A couple of $100 or whatever. If you don't give it a crack, are you going to one day sit back and go, gee, I wonder what I could have done with that, or I wonder if that was for me? I'm sort of on the belief of, I don't want to be sitting on my bed when it's time to go and go, wow, I wish I'd done this or that. Life is to be lived. Give it a crack. Like I said, what have you got to lose? Anybody can do this. It does take time. It's not quick. It's not, instant results and all the rest of it, whether it be weight loss, whether it be the skincare, whether it be the business. Everything does take time, but it is time well spent and well worth it.
Yeah. It's spending time on yourself, on your own health. Yeah. Okay, Leah, thank you so much for doing this chat with me. I really appreciate it. It was really fun to chat with you.
It's been really great. Thank you very much for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. So for everybody out there, if you feel like, wow, this is something I really want to know more about, I feel like this is something that maybe I can do as well. If it's the weight loss, if it's just to feel better or look better or whatever it is, just reach out to me or Leah, and also, or type a yes in the comments and I will contact you. So thank you for this time, and let's chat some more another time, Leah.
Absolutely. I would more than be happy to chat further.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.